Creating custom Pokemon for you! Welcome back, everyone, to the show where we select lucky commenters to spin a series of random wheels that give us factors for a Pokemon that we then create just for you. It's gonna be an awesome episode today, y'all. We have 4 amazing custom Pokemon as always, but before we get started, I do have some quick reminders. First off, if you end up liking today's episode, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And of course, if you want a custom Pokemon for yourself, all you have to do is leave a comment because I'll be randomly selecting people from this video's comments for the next episode. It's just most fair that way, everyone has an equal chance, but it also makes it way more important to subscribe with the notification bell turned on, because if you got a custom Pokemon and missed the episode, you would never even know, which would suck. So yeah, don't let it happen to you, subscribe now, and without further ado, let's get into the first Pokemon. And this one will be for Matt Demasi. I'm glad you like the storylines of the Pokemon. Hopefully the storyline of the fan-made game lives up to that. But anyway, Demasi, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. Nothing wrong with that. Now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you're gonna get 0, which actually makes you a basic Pokemon. Now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type's going to be the Grass type. That's a good classic typing, and you are Grass Psychic type. That's actually interesting. And the last step before we see what your Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do a Mega Evolution. It has been a really long time since we've gotten one of those, so that is very high. Introducing your Pokemon, Totomic, the Carving Pokemon. These small wooden beetle Pokemon are coursing with psychic energy, which allows them to move around at super speed. And they use this speed to rapidly consume trees and other wooden objects, which it turns into pure energy. However, strangely enough, these Pokemon never eat entire trees and instead opt to carve intricate patterns into them, leaving behind wonderful forests of art after they feed. When exposed to Totomite, it would evolve into Mega Totomic. Upon achieving Mega Evolution, this Pokemon's power was so great that it had to be channeled through more than just its body for it to survive, causing it to carve its own large totem pole body to help contain its insane power. In terms of stats, this Pokemon is very focused on its special attack and defense, with its physical abilities being less than stellar. And for its shiny, the body gets much darker and its bright green energy changes to purple. Today's second Pokemon will be for Duncan Haveman. I'm glad you like the long form videos, Duncan, I appreciate it. So let's spin that power level wheel, where you are going to be a pseudo legendary. That's one of the rarest things you can get. Awesome. And if you don't know, pseudo legendary Pokemon are those super cool Pokemon that every game has, like Salamence or Dragonite, you know, those really cool mons that are almost legendary. Now, every pseudo legendary has been a 3-stage evolution line, but we do still spin this wheel where you have a very small chance to get something different, but you didn't this time. So now let's see what typing this pseudo's going to be. Your first type is going to be the electric type. That's cool. There's never been an electric type pseudo. An electric fighting type. I like that. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and you do another Mega Evolution. That's literally insane. It's a Mega Evolution on a pseudo, and it's the second one in a row. That's crazy. The first stage of your Pokemon is Ampzy, the high voltage Pokemon. Due to their electrical powers, these Pokemon are incredibly energetic and are constantly zipping from tree branch to tree branch. At level 17, it would evolve into Voltage. These Pokemon have learned to control their electrical energy and have therefore become a lot more calm. But don't let this relaxed demeanor fool you, because better controlling their energy also means they're better at directing it straight into their attack. At level 42, it would evolve into Serilla. This Pokemon is one of the greatest physical fighters in the Pokemon world, able to knock out most opponents with a singular strike. But thankfully, this power is also paired with a heroic personality that doesn't seek to harm, but instead fights to improve its own ability. And yes, if you couldn't tell, these Pokemon are inspired by Dragon Ball Z, of which I am a huge fan. When exposed to Surgite, it would evolve into Mega Serilla. This Pokemon is at the absolute peak of its powers, with its Mega Evolution said to have increased its base strength by 50 times. However, in terms of its actual stats, this is not true, but it does get a large boost to its already high physical attack and speed stats. And for the shiny of this Pokemon, I went with a bright blue as a reference to Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, which is my favorite transformation, at least in terms of aesthetics, because that light blue is so cool. What's up, y'all? We still have 2 more amazing custom Pokemon to go, but before we get into those, I wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to my channel members. My main goal with this series is to make every episode better than the last, and hopefully you've noticed that over the course of the series because I've really been trying. Right now, I'm really focused on increasing the quality of the editing in the series, but I'm even more focused on increasing the frequency of uploads because I know it's taking a long time in between episodes right now, but trust me, I'm trying to get that time down. And the best way to support me doing that is to become a channel member. If you're just watching the videos, trust me, you're supporting me enough. That is absolutely fine, and I know times are tough right now and not everybody can afford a membership to a Pokemon channel. I absolutely get that, but if you want to take the extra step in supporting the series, it really helps a lot. Again, if you're just watching the videos, you're doing more than enough, but for those who can, please consider becoming a channel member by hitting the join button down below. Today's 3rd Pokemon will be for Henry, and don't worry, it's never too late to leave a comment. So alright, Henry, let's see what the power level wheel has in store for you, and it's a Convergent Evolution. Interesting. And it means that now we have to spin this wheel to see what generation of Pokemon we're making a Convergent for, and it's Gen 1 Classic. So now we'll spin this wheel that has every single Gen 1 Pokemon on it, and we got Toros. That's actually pretty interesting. It already has a regional variant, but a Convergent is even cooler. Now let's see what new typing we'll be giving to this Convergent Toros. Your first type is the Steel type. That's interesting. I can see that working for sure. And Steel Fire type. That's actually crazy. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if that has an X Factor, and you do, a signature ability. Every single Pokemon's had an X Factor so far. We are getting very lucky today. Introducing your Pokemon, Torchos, the Torment Pokemon. This fiery bronze bull is extremely intimidating. It has been used over the years by the most evil of trainers to enforce their will. And it's even said that its flames are constantly burning, fueled by the souls of its slain enemies. And this is reflected in its signature ability, Fueling Flame, which grants Torchos a stat increase every time it defeats an enemy based on the highest stat of that defeated enemy. So if it defeats a very fast enemy, it will gain a speed boost, and if it defeats a very defensive Pokemon, then it will gain a defense boost, so on and so forth. In terms of its stats, it's got the same base stat total as regular Toros, but instead of being focused on attack and speed, it's focused on special attack and defenses. And for the shiny, I went with this dark green color because it kind of reminded me of the Fel from World of Warcraft. If you know, you know. Today's 4th Pokemon is for Dennis the Unknown. Thanks for being a long-time viewer of the series. So alright, Dennis, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you got 2, which makes you a full 3-stage evolution line. Now let's see what typing your Pokemon's going to be. Your first type is the Bug type. That's good. I believe that is one of the rarest types in our region, and Bug Flying type. Not gonna lie, that is extremely common typing in Pokemon, but hopefully we can still do something unique with it. And the last step before we see which Pokemon looks like, let's see if it has an X Factor, and none this time. The first stage of your Pokemon is Cocoon, the grumpy Pokemon. These Pokemon live to work and are constantly producing honey for their hive day in and day out, which is probably why they look so grumpy all the time. They never get a break. At level 11, it would evolve into Polishute. These Pokemon have left the hive behind as they now have the new job of spreading pollen, a job that they accomplish by floating on the breeze, gently soaring above the plant. At level 22, it would evolve into Zepollin. These Pokemon are shockingly large and capable of traveling extremely long distances thanks to their innate ability to float on even the smallest of winds. In terms of stats, Zeppelin is a surprisingly sturdy bug type, but it does suffer in the speed category. And for the shiny, I went with this cool purple color that sort of has a UFO or alien theme that I think turned out nice. And that's gonna do it for today's episode, y'all. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe before you go. And if you want to watch more episodes, there's a bunch in this playlist. And again, if you can, please consider becoming a channel member. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode, but until then, peace.